Hey, well, Albert, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have you. It's been quite a few years. We're just going back there to playing football together at St. FX is where we met. And I was preparing for the show, and I was thinking of like man, what like jumped out to me about Albert when I first met him. And I was laughing to myself because there's two things. I'm like, one, he's got a super contagious smile. I'm like, Albert's smile is like just lights up the room. And number two is his biceps. If you played with Albert, like, if
Yeah,
there's any ex-boys listening here, but I was just thinking back. I was like, man, those are two things that just jumped up to me. But you're guys living in Calgary now, which is home for you. And we played 2 years together at X, correct? I think
yeah,
it
it was
was
2 years.
2019, 2019, 2020, and then the previous year, 2018, 2019.
Yeah,
I think were the 2 years that we played together, which is awesome. Is where we met. You moved back to your hometown in Calgary, and now you are CEO of your own digital company, DNA. So
yeah.
doing brand ambassador type of work. You're training people now as well on how to do that as well. So, I mean, first thing is, why don't you just bring the audience up to speed on kind of what you're doing, what life's looking like for you in Calgary, and a little update on that.
Sounds good. Yeah. And first off, thanks for having me, Isaac. Appreciate it. It's been a while since we've been able to connect. So always nice seeing a
Absolutely.
familiar face and going back to playing football together and everything. I had an early head start with the bicep workouts from literally from high all 3 years of high school. Literally just arms and chest and back. Neglected leg days for sure, but had to do a lot of catch up with the leg days for football. But yeah,
There you
now
go.
we're here. So it all balanced out, which is good. So
Good
yeah,
stuff.
but post graduation for high school, I did a BBA with like major in finance and minor in economics, and then kind of went into the corporate route because I think that's just how it is these days when it comes to society. You go to school, get a degree, go find some corporate work, and go from there. So I definitely enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I was able to work at a big corporation, Pepsi, to start off for a couple of years. Then after that, moved into two startups. So that was nice, kind of seeing the different ranges of how things work. Where at Pepsi, obviously, it's hard to really like stand out and put yourself out there because the amount of employees, the amount of different sectors within the company too as well. And then with a startup, it was very nice because you're able to kind of get your voice heard, but it's a lot of extra work that you have to do as well. And within those time periods, I always knew that I always wanted to start a business. Like even as a kid, just do my own lemonade stand with a couple of neighbors and everything like that. Like I've always had the entrepreneurial mindset. And then I realized that I kind of had to figure out what my passion was. And I think my passion is more than just like creating content. I think a lot of people know me as like a content creator, but I also think it's
Mhm.
being able to inspire and to also help people in their field being able to connect and network. I love networking, connecting, meeting new people, hearing how people's stories have been their journeys as well. So with digital media or DNA digital media that I started with two of my friends, it's more than just like creating digital media, but it's being able to tell people stories, help them grow and build their dreams and their
Mm.
passion as well, and kind of go from there. So yeah, ever since just the end of last year around October, that's kind of when we really started like ramping things up within DNA digital media. And now we're just figuring out all the back end stuff. As an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things that they don't like teach you or tell you at all. It's kind of like figure it out as you go. But I think since it is my passion, it doesn't feel like a job, even though it's so much work. I feel like I'm
Mm.
working just 24/7, but at the end of the day, I really love it and just excited to kind of see where things go and where all the opportunities lie as we continue to grow within the company.
That's awesome, man. No, my dad used to say trial by fire when it came to
Yeah,
entrepreneurship. You learn when, and that's really the only way you really do learn something truly. I mean, you could do it in the classroom as long as you want,
yeah,
but until you get out there, like there's just certain experiences, certain lessons that you never get if you don't make the jump. And that's usually what stops people is like that jump. But those
mhm,
are important lessons. So in the digital space, it's cool that you mentioned telling people stories and stuff because a lot of these people that you're working with, like they've got businesses, they've had businesses for a long period of time,
mhm,
and what they're very like unsure of and like the trial by fire that they're not ready to take is the social media side.
Hmm.
is where you guys are coming in. Is that's what I'm assuming. Like a lot of these businesses are trying to get to, right? Is that social media space, whether they've been left behind or want to upgrade and actually get into the space. That's where you guys are coming in, right? With DNA.
Yeah, exactly. For our business side of acquiring clients, yeah, we try and reach the clients who maybe, since they're entrepreneurs themselves in their own industry, they're wearing a bunch of hats. And I think a lot of what I've noticed is that a lot of people kind of neglect the marketing aspect because there's a lot when it comes to it. It's all the planning and the
Mm,
pre-production, then figuring out how to create the content, then actually creating the content, then also editing it and everything like that, and then creating all your socials, keeping up to date with all of them and posting it too. So it's definitely a lot and it's not easy. So that's kind of one solution that we're trying to provide to clients that are in our specific clientele. And then also just maybe people who just like know the value of social media already, like they know how important it is, but they just don't have maybe someone in-house, like a freelancer that's in-house or like a
mm.
marketing team in-house. So we can kind of provide that and allow them to outsource to other talents that I can connect them. And that's kind of where I want to be, where like I'm the intermediary for people connecting the community that I've been able to grow as a content creator and just putting myself out there, seeing all the creatives in the local space, and then also the freelancers too, and then connecting them with businesses and brands that either need like kind of full social media help or just partial to creating content as well.
Okay, so you're working directly with some businesses, but a lot of what you're doing is actually correcting or connecting other people in the space to businesses that are doing somewhat what you're doing, right? Like freelancers, when you say they would be on like you would typically hire them online. I've done it before too. I've hired
Mhm.
people to do some social media or do some posts. Like you're now connecting them with brands that you're in touch with where you know what they need and like you know the space that they want to get into. Is that correct what you're doing with like freelancers?
Yeah, that's correct. Just because I know myself where like my strengths and weaknesses lie, so I know the importance of also delegation too. And I've seen
Mm,
that there is a problem for it. I just personally don't have that skill set when it comes to like photography, videography. But as I mentioned, just because I'm in the creative space, within the creative space, there's just so many different types of people who have expertise in different things. So yeah, being able to connect them with different businesses has been great to see, and just providing them more work. Maybe, for example, some of them may not have like the exact business acumen or like they don't even know where to look, where to start, how to reach out. So being able to kind of provide them that extra work, I think that's big because I've just seen a big problem where people just don't know how to connect with each other because it's really there's no main platform. It's just either you go on Facebook, I mean, sorry, not Facebook, you go on Instagram, you like hope that maybe a photographer or a business says like YY, like puts the hashtag YYC business or
mm,
also like YYC photographer, videographer. But then if they don't, then you'll never be able to really to reach out to
to
them
find them.
like that. So kind of just want to start off simple, make a use case here in Calgary, and then hopefully just expand that further where people in their specific cities and areas can connect with each other to help each other out basically.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. I mean, it's we live in such a digital world where you think that would be so much easier, but you live in a space where it's like, say in Edmonton, any city, like there's so many people like that are ready connect or to
Mm-hmm.
connect, have the skills and like want to, and they're like, it's exactly where I want to be. But that finite connection between the actual like end business owner and like
Yeah.
who they actually need is
Mm-hmm.
like where things I find things get lost as well, right? Like how do you make that connection? And it's a missing link like when
Yeah.
you can do that, especially I imagine you're focusing in Calgary right now, right? Just locally.
Yeah, just focusing in Calgary right now, and then obviously the way brands are, like products and a lot of online products are also a thing that we focus on too. But yeah, right now, just focusing on Calgary and then seeing where we can expand after that.
Sweet, there you go. What's I remember seeing a kind of like a commercial or I guess a video of you with like ruffles and stuff, and I was like, man, that was cool.
Yeah.
What's like what's like your favorite partnership or like gig that you've done so far since starting DNA? Do you have one?
Hmm. I really enjoy a lot of them, but I'd probably say my favorite one was McDonald's. They
Okay.
for the spicy like chicken nuggets, we did
Yeah.
a collab. me and my other colleague Nick, we did a collab with them where they gave me like this spicy McChicken like bomber jacket. It was actually like a cool jacket that was pretty like cool, like, and it was custom too as well. So being able to do that, I think was just a nice fun experience, being able to promote that as well. And then also they had this brand new McDonald's opening, and like they made it like all gourmet. They had like plates, like glass plates and everything, like was all fancy. So like, and then go into the back, seeing like all the brand new equipment and how they kind of are getting trained, and then also just being able to put all those products together, and then going seeing the ice cream machine actually working at the back, because usually when you have those late night snacks, they say the machine's not working.
Yeah,
It was nice to see that. That was also like a fun experience to see. But yeah, I think I don't know what it is with McDonald's, but like it's McDonald's, it's like just a happy go lucky type of content you get to create. So I think that was my favorite. But I think, yeah, I've never really had any ones that I haven't liked. But yeah, I'd say McDonald's is definitely up there
definitely
as
up
one
there.
of my favorites. Yeah.
Cool, man. Oh, that's awesome. How'd that come about? Like they reached out to you, you were reaching out to them, or
Yeah. So for myself being a content creator, like I work with a marketing agency. So I have a talent manager who will help me get some brand deals and partnerships. So they were in contact with them, and they kind of did all like the back end work, and then just asked me if I wanted to accept it based on the deliverables and if everything made sense. And then just went ahead and did that. And that's how I basically was able to get that opportunity.
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff, man. Well, one thing I really want to circle back to, you mentioned at the beginning, I mean, both of us played football at St. FX there. I mean, you played all through high school. We played the sport for a long period of time, and I knew that I forgot that you went to Pepsi, but I kind of had, as you mentioned that story, going into the corporate world for a little bit. Much like myself, I went to accounting with KPMG for a period of time as well, and I think that's really interesting to see those two things collide. And you mentioned something that often in university or just in society, we kind of get pushed into this like you need to get the corporate job, or this is where your path is going to lead at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it'd be really valuable for the audience. I mean, a lot of athletes and young people listening as well. Just thinking about where their journey is, whether they're in a job right now or they're in university, navigating that pathway. I
Mm-hmm.
think it'd be really cool to just go back to that and just for yourself, like where did you find yourself after university? Were you like I'm gonna give this corporate role a shot. I think like I can do this, or were you kind of like, man, I feel like I'm forced into this. I'm just gonna do it. Like
Yeah.
where were you at coming out of football?
I think originally where I was at coming out of football and like going into the corporate world, I was excited because it was just a new journey and a new chapter in my life. So I always like to keep things with an open mind and just always try things out, because you can never really knock anything until you try it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think going the corporate route was just something that like I knew that was going to happen initially, but I always had like in the very back of my head or the back of my mind that I want to start something for myself. So as I was kind of going through the corporate world, it was nice and like it was very comfortable. I think that was the thing, right? I definitely
Mm-hmm.
think I could have continued going the corporate route if like the right opportunities arose, but I think there was just a certain thing in myself where it's like I kind of got like a little push where it's like this is like the perfect time to kind of start your passion and let everything unravel itself too. So I got that little push where I decided to kind of just go all in, because as you said, there's never a perfect time to start, right? And I think a lot of people are just waiting for that perfect time to start. But the perfect time to start is just right now. You don't want to waste any time, and it's better just to go into it and see what happens. And I think a lot of people are afraid of like quitting and failing, but I think that's what's the most important thing that you need. You need to be able to fail hard and fail fast so you can kind of redivert and relearn things too as well, and figure out, okay, what's the next step? Because I think in this world, it's like never win or you lose, you win or you learn, because you kind of take what
Mm-hmm.
you've
That's good.
gotten from all your past experiences to be able to allow yourself to grow and to see kind of if you're on the right path or you need to make any game plan, like any adjustments as well, right? So I think, yeah, for myself, I just knew I wanted to build something for myself where I could eventually like step away from. Because for me, the my definition of success is basically being able to have as much time as possible to myself and being able to do whatever I want with my time. Whereas obviously you're working 8 hours for someone else, which is like nothing's wrong with that. It's just for
Mm.
me personally, I value my time a lot, and that's the most valuable currency in the world, in my opinion. So I think
Mm.
having that and working towards getting that will is what will make me fulfilled and what will make me happy moving forward and for my career and for my life too as well.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I think you said something really important is, I mean, you found what was valuable to you. Like time is your most valuable resource, and you work backwards with it. You said like, hey, what do I want to get to? Like my end goal is XYZ. I want to have as much time to myself so that I can, and I know by you saying that, that doesn't mean to yourself, it's to do what you want to do in life, like do the things that you love and give back in the way that you want to give back. And then you work backwards from that and say, how am I gonna get there? And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's not a, working in a corporate job is, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a crime. If there's no game plan with that, or
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to do with that is where you run into trouble. But I'm sure you think back on your experience with, Pepsi and in the corporate world, and it taught you lessons, and it taught you things you needed to know, or things that you failed at or didn't want. You're like, oh, I see that now. It's not what I thought it was. I'm gonna go for something else,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
if you don't do that, if you never go for that, you'll always be like, what if, or like, what if I did, or I don't think any of us want to live like a life where at the end of it, you're like, well, what if I went for it?
Yeah.
What if I tried that? Right. I think that's a life of regret. And it's important, like you said, to just go through those, especially for, I mean, for everybody, but for young people, especially the failing side is definitely hard. And for all of us, nobody likes to suck at something or not do well or
Mm-hmm.
it not go the right way. But I don't think there's a successful person, or a millionaire, or whatever you want to talk, whoever you want to put in there, a successful athlete that has gone through life and hasn't failed at something. Like
Yeah.
it's part of what like writes your journey. It's part of what is going to like shape you, and then you're going to use that, like you said, and you can call it a fail, you can just call it an experience,
Mm-hmm.
or a learning moment, and just take that and move it into whatever else you're going to do, and tailor it to how, maybe it's a small tweak, and then
Yeah.
you do something else, right? Instead of like waiting to find that out and then 10 years later trying it and failing 10 years later down the road, when
Mm-hmm.
you could have just done it
Yeah.
and just went for it instead of wasting that time with yourself. So I think that's super important, man. I'm glad that you've gone through that, and you've just taken that on, and just done it at such a young age as well. So that's awesome. Congrats on that. Going back to the football space, what would you say you miss most about the football space and sports? Because I know that like probably still watch football. You're probably still out there juking and jiving, like pretending things like that. But what's the thing you miss most about football?
I think the game days, honestly, like either it was at home or we were going and for an away game or a road game. I think just like the camaraderie of the team, just like I've always loved being a part of a team aspect where it's you're there, you do your job, and then you trust that all your other brothers as well doing the job too. We're there to reach a certain common goal as well, which is to win and do the best that we can, and to not let each other like put ourselves down or anything. Because obviously, when it comes to football, you each make like mistakes can happen during a
Mhm.
game, but we have to be able to be there to have a short memory because that's what it is about football. Football is just right on to the next play. So you can't dwell on the past. You have to
Mhm.
learn. And I think that's one thing that really I got out of football that was able to translate into just the real world where you have to, as you said, sometimes you'll fail fast. At an average play of football, 6 seconds, you might drop a pass or fumble a ball, right? But then you have to fail, you have to learn why that happened and just get back right into it, right? So I think just yeah, the team camaraderie of like just being with all the boys and like having a good time and like being able to celebrate the victories and the wins was always just such a fun time, because like we worked hard, even though like the football game like 2 to 3 hours, we have that 20
Yeah.
plus hour week that we worked hard to to get to that point, right? So I think just being able to all put in that work, all think of that same common goal, and then going out there, getting the victory. I think that's just always such a fun time, seeing all the boys happy and then everyone doing their part and being able to celebrate with everyone.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. And you touched on this. What would you say? Because what's what I want to lead into is what would you say is the biggest thing that sports taught you for life and business moving on air?
Yeah, I think, yeah, being able to work in a team environment, I think that's important. Being able
Yeah.
to also realize there's always a bigger picture. So
Mhm.
in that sense, just being able to focus on what you have to get done and trusting that your colleagues or the people around you are having the same mindset and doing that as well. I think that's like one of the hardest parts, like having that trust in other people
Mhm.
too, because a lot of people kind of want all that control or all that power and stuff like that. But I think being able to kind of lay back, delegate, and trust the people that you surround yourself with is one thing that I've really learned taken out of the sport of football too. And then also just being comfortable, like getting uncomfortable. I think you have to really do a lot of things that you might not want to do and you might not realize why you're doing it, but you just have to, as I said, look at the bigger picture too as well. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that I've taken out of football that's really given me a different perspective on life and just how to tackle things outside of
No pun
sports.
intended.
Yeah, no pun intended, but yeah, it's amazing just to see that um, it's more than just football. It's more than just bashing your heads together. You know,
Mm.
it's a lot more that you can learn if you have that open mind. And as you said, another no pun intended, but if you're like thinking outside the box, how you can translate all those things into the real world, it's just nice to be able to see for sure.
Yeah, 100%. You said something that actually like my I just started thinking about in the business sense because we talked about delegation in business, and your first point to football was learning to do your part and trusting other people and knowing that they're going to get the job done as well. If you translate that to the business world, it is just delegation. It's
Mm-hmm.
like because delegation and you would both running businesses. I learned that lesson the hard way in business, and I'm sure there's difficulties for yourself too, but that especially when you first let the reins go.
Yeah.
I remember the first time that you like took your hands off a project you were doing and you were just like inside a bit, you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like what's gonna happen? Oh my, like my brand, what if, and all your mind starts like spinning because we always want to have our hands on it. We
Mm-hmm.
always want to be like the one to like do the final touch or like I've got to control it. And in the short run, yeah, that may work and you might have some success with it, but the ability to scale is not possible without other people. And you quickly realize that you don't have all the capabilities that other people have. You got to plug in people that are good at stuff that you're not so good at.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the most important things I'd say. I mean, myself, I've learned in business is that, and in life is like, you're not good at everything. And
Mm-hmm.
there's other people that are better at things that you don't like doing as
Yeah.
well, that
Exactly.
love doing it. Like they love doing the things that you don't do well, which typically are what fall behind,
Mm-hmm.
and they love doing it. And yet it's hard to like give that control over a bit and just let them do that thing, but it amplifies your business and just everything around you. So I think that's a really valuable point that you brought from sports along with the others. I mean, learning
Mm-hmm.
how to embrace failure, do something for the first time, get Coach Daly to put you out there on a special teams you've never been on before, right?
Yeah. Just that
Like,
you gotta go.
yeah, we gotta go, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
everybody's gonna be like, what does that mean? But if you
Yeah.
know, you
If,
know.
if
If
you
you know,
know,
you
you know.
know. But no, that's awesome. And I mean, people would say we're biased because we played the sport of football, but
Mm-hmm.
it truly is such a well-rounded sport for what you learn in life. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the hardships. Every sport at a high level is difficult and hard, but the complexity of football and the team aspect of it is, you have 12 guys on the field, and if I have 11, but one person misses their job, like that's doesn't matter how good the other 11 are,
Yeah, exactly.
and it's
Like
just done.
you all need to be able to mesh and work together too as well. So yeah, it's definitely one of the biggest team sports. And as you said too, like obviously there's all other team sports as well. But yeah, I think when it comes to football, there's just so many more moving pieces that you kind of realize that it takes a lot more to be cohesive and be on the same page. And you have to do that fast. Like the plays are 6 seconds and like it's just nice and quick, right? So you just have to be in the right headspace for that play and just move on to the next, move on to the next, and make adjustments as you go because the defense will change. They'll kind of change as well on the fly. So we have to make those adjustments as well and then call the audibles and the adjustments. So it's just, yeah, being on your feet and being able to not get too comfortable, as I said, because your game plan, you might have that game plan that you're preparing all week, but all of a sudden the team comes up with a different one. Then you have to just make adjustments.
Yeah, that whole game plan's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then be on the same page with your team, your coaches and everything, and then go out there and then hoping to get the victory as well. So yeah.
No, man, definitely it's a sport you can definitely learn a lot from. Thinking back at brother was asking me the same question. Silas still out there balling, so he's asking me the same questions of what I missed and stuff. But what would you say is the toughest thing for you leaving sports? What was the hardest thing for you when you left?
I think the hardest thing was just being around and being surrounded with a group of like great people who had the same mindset as me and like just wanted to go out there and be the best that they can and just to win. I always love winning, so I think just having that competitive aspect was definitely hard to walk away from. And just even the little things like the winter workouts, miss those, like the 6 a.m. the grind,
right?
using that grind. I think you take a lot of things for granted too when you kind of leave something, because some days it gets tough. Like not all days are going to be rainbows and sunshine, that is for sure. No. But I think I'd rather have those couple of bad days and then get all those really other good days too, where it's like you're grinding, you're working hard, but then why. And I think the why is important to know, the end goal is important to know. So when those days do get tough or when those times do get hard, you're like, why? Like you look back, kind of take a step back and be like, why am I doing this? And then it allows you to kind of push further and harder too as well, because I don't think you can just rely on motivation these days. Like you just have to have discipline. You're not going to be always motivated these days. And if you just rely on that, you can't make it as far as you can, because you have to push through those days that you're sick or you're tired or you're just not feeling good, and then just go about the day that way. But I will say one thing when it comes to like doing something hard or like tough throughout the day, or like for example just like a workout, I've never regretted like waking up or not wanting to go work out, and after the workout I never regretted doing that, because I know why I'm doing it and getting that delayed gratification. So I think that's something that has really helped.
And you never have like, I mean, I have yet to this day have had a bad day leaving the gym.
Yeah.
Like you might not feel like great going into some of the workouts, or like you're getting like, oh my gosh, like sometimes it's hard to get there, but I've never had a bad day leaving the gym. Like you feel accomplished, you got something done, and you did something for yourself.
Yeah.
And it sets up your day, so well, especially when you can look in the mirror and your biceps are as big as yours. Like I would be super ecstatic. I'm still working on these, Albert. They're not quite there.
I'll trade you some bicep for some speed.
I'm gonna need the program. I'm gonna need the bicep program at the end of this video. Drop the link.
Sounds good. I got you. See, the one secret sauce though is my mom's cooking. Still living.
Your mom's cooking. Oh man. Well then you got to send me the mom's cookbook. I'm gonna start throw that in the meal plan. Throw that in the meal plans for the week. But no, that's good, man. That's such a solid, another, just solid lesson for life. And I'm thinking back to football as well. You're kind of a little bit crazy. Like you're playing a sport where you're playing you have 8 games. You have an 8-week season. If you're lucky, you're playing another 3 weeks after that. And you're training the rest of the year.
Yeah.
All year round.
Yeah.
Other sports, like you might play half a year, you get to play that window. Football's so short, and then you rinse and recycle that, and you do that for 5, 10, 15 years at something. And you think back and you're like, yeah, there was days where you didn't have the motivation, but how long did you train and just go after this sport with such like excitement and like just just constantly pushing at something. And then it gets harder. Like you get out of that, and it's like you put that into the business perspective. How do
Mhm.
you apply that much pressure for that period of time in business?
Yeah.
And I promise you can be successful. You put that kind of effort and you put that much time into a business and a passion,
Hmm.
it's like it's the same thing, right? How do you wake up for a 5:30 a.m. run? Well, how do you wake up 5:30 and go to the gym and then start your day? Is like doing the same things, right? But you made it clear there. You got to start with your why, and then you got to work in reverse.
Yeah.
And in football, it was in sports in general is easy to find a why because your why is always it should be winning if you're playing at the universe sport. Like my why should be being the best player I can to create a winning team to go win that championship.
Yeah.
And no matter where your team's at, every year you start in your mind is like championship. And sometimes it doesn't go that way, but in your mind, that's what's just it's giving you that drive that whole time. So how can you find your championship in life and then trail backwards and then
Yeah.
just work each day towards that is really what you got to do.
Exactly. Because, yeah, a lot of things that you see, because obviously people, when you see them online or whatever, all the accolades, like that is what you see.
Mm,
That is what is in the spotlight, right? So
yeah.
people don't realize how much like back end work that you have to do. Because one day I was just randomly, like when we were playing football back in Santa FX, I was just calculating how many times or like how many hours of practice, how many hours of lifting do we do, how many hours of film, like on field, on field, film, and just like lifting. And I think it averaged out to be like around 25 hours a week. And then a game is only 3 hours, right? So in order for you to set yourself up successfully for that game, you're putting in like 25 hours compared to just the 3 hours of the game time, right? Which is just, and at the end of the day, like, yeah, 3 hours is how long it takes to do the game, but it only is an hour realistically, right? So in
Yeah.
order to be able to be successful, all that hard work, all that grinding, people might not see it, but you know that most successful people where they are today, they put in that work and they're just now celebrating their accomplishments, which is just inspirational to see. I think before myself, I would see it as kind of like jealousy, where it's like, wow, like I
Mm,
wish I had that. Like, wow, like
yeah.
they got it so
They're so
good.
lucky.
They're
Yeah.
so lucky. Yeah, that. But I think now kind of putting myself into their shoes, it's like, wow, no, they're not so lucky. Like they earned it. They deserved it. They put in that work. And I think if you're doing it in the right way, you have a vision, I think that is just what will kind of push you and be able to be like, okay, grind now, or like just work hard now, and then you can kind of be like them as well. So I took that jealousy from more so inspiration, where it's like, wow, these people have done amazing things with their lives and for themselves. And instead of feeling bad about myself, like, why am I not there? Why this? Why that? I'm just like, now I ask myself and just reframe my perspective, like, oh, how can I get there? So like kind of
Mm,
digging deeper into their life, seeing where they started, how they came. Just like, for example, like Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he started in a garage selling books, and now it's one of the biggest e-commerce. It is the biggest e-commerce brand in the world, right?
I saw
So
a picture of that where it was like a door as like his desk.
yeah, like
Yeah, I just saw a photo of that as wild.
it's crazy, and just as I said, just so inspirational. Putting in all that back end work, and now being in it myself, like all that back end work, it just keeps coming. Like it, and as you said, like trial by fire. You're never really gonna understand some things unless you just put yourself into it, and that's why even going further back, that there's no right or wrong place to start. It's just starting and then
Mm,
learning as you go.
yeah, absolutely. My I know an old CEO of myself, she used to say instead of being like, oh wow, they did that, it's like ask, oh how,
Mm-hmm.
and be
Yeah.
like you said, the question, be like, man, that person's doing something, or I would love to do something like that, or they're killing it. How are they doing it? Instead of being like, oh my, like, they're lucky, or oh, I wish I was born there. It's like, I wonder how they did that.
Yeah.
I wonder how that came because there's always a story.
Mm-hmm.
And for the ones that don't have a story, you can read through that. Like you can read through that they just got it handed to. But
Mm-hmm.
people that are truly successful, there's a story behind it, and usually they're telling it somewhere. If you dig deep enough, and not just the flashy car or the
Mm-hmm.
the money, like you'll read through that and see
Yeah.
where they really came from. So That's super important. You mentioned vision. What's Albert's vision for the next 3 to 5 years? What's the big picture for you and for DNA? Where do you see that going?
I think my vision in this life is to be able to just, yeah, expand the business, create something for myself, like create a legacy, and being able to turn my passion into my purpose, which is to connect people, network people, allow people to be confident in who they are and kind of embracing their identity. That's our slogan for DNA, where
Mhm.
they are able just to express themselves in the best way possible and just use the platform to help them elevate that and make it a little easier. And I would say, yeah, my vision for the next couple of years is just to expand that and grow that and be able to kind of travel to different parts around the world and be able to hear other creative stories of like where they came, because I always love hearing the origin stories of how people came about creativity and like especially that space,
Mhm.
because as you said, I think we're just so used to, like, I think personally, like digital media is still like fairly new, and like the new aspects or the way they're using it in terms of social media and content creation. So it'd just be nice to kind of hear people's backstory of like how did they kind of get into that, because I just like to hear people kind of with the same liking as me and interest too. So just be cool to be able to use the platform to also expand everywhere and then hear other people's stories. And then I think also as well, my vision is to be getting to allow myself to get all the time in the world that I can get back, to be able to, yeah, do things for myself, continue working for myself, but then also helping others that are less fortunate or in different situations too. I think I've always wanted to be a part of like doing like charity work and like having that time, because um I know like giving, I don't know what it is about giving, but it just feels so good and rewarding, even if it's
Mhm.
just such a small thing. And I think as well, being able to do it in the background is honestly like the best feeling in the world. But I think if I'm able to like to use my platform to inspire others, that like there's easy ways to give as well, I think that's something
Mhm.
cool too. So I'd say, yeah, that's kind of my vision kind of moving forward in the short term. And then yeah, kind of want to keep that vision close and tight knit, just like with what I'm doing, just so I can remember my why and then continue going
Mhm.
from there as well.
That's awesome, man. Is there a charity that you'd work with or you want to work with that you're working towards?
I think no like specific charity, but like I think it'd be cool like for one thing I'd want to do is like when I was a kid, I was fortunate enough to, I used to live in Fort Lauderdale in Florida, and that's kind of where I
Okay.
got my passion of football. And I started off just with flag football, funny or not, and that's how kind of the love for the game started, and it kind of grew ever since. So I think like maybe like to create like a kids flag football league, I think that'd be cool. And then maybe creating my own charity within that where I can um, help people who want to be a part of a team aspect. Because I think for me, I would be a totally different person I am today if I wasn't able to have any organized sports in my life. So being able to
Mm.
provide that would be something big, I think. And then also just like partnering with other local businesses and doing different types of charity work too, whether that may be like helping out families like less fortunate, or like food drives, clothing drives, just such things like that, where I want to be able to expand not just like one specific type of giving back, but just a multitude of it would be nice.
That's awesome, man. I love that. That's so good with sports. I think, yeah, it being a part of sports is something that we're definitely fortunate for. And without that, I mean, your life would be totally different. My life would be totally different. And being
Yeah.
able to give that back is it's a game changer for people. It's a game changer for the person giving too, which is what's so awesome about giving is your perspective totally changes when you get to put that back for people. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, Albert. I've loved the conversation. We always end every episode with the final 5 questions.
On a 5K.
So the one there's two rules, and you might break them. Sometimes they get broken, but it's got to be answered. Each question's got to be answered like top of the dome, like right off the bat, and in like a word or a sentence or less.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Word or sentence or less, and just on the top of
Yeah. Yeah. Like without going into crazy detail of it? Like what just comes to mind? I like these questions. I don't know if you've heard of Jay Shetty before.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've
I
heard.
listen to him all the time. He does this thing called the Fast Five,
Yeah,
which
at the
I kind
end
of stole like the
podcast.
final five with him. I did like triple threat, and I was like, I need more than three questions.
Yeah.
But really, just what comes to mind because that's what's obviously natural for our minds. So I'll start with this one. What's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
Best advice I've ever gotten. Ooh, that's a tough one. I've never been asked that before. Worst advice I've ever gotten. Just being complacent and or ooh, wow,
It's tough, eh?
it is. I think worst advice I've ever gotten is basically kind of just sucking it up in the position that you are instead of making a change, basically, and
Mm,
going from there.
that's a good one. Okay. And flip side of that, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Best advice I've ever gotten was actually from Coach Waterman himself. Was to be
G Wads.
yeah, G Watts, to be comfortable getting uncomfortable. Definitely the best
Mm,
advice I've ever gotten.
there we go. That's awesome. And what uh what would you say your biggest focus is in business? What's your number one focus? And in life. Could be in life. Could be in
Yeah.
life. Choose what you want.
Being able to grow and expand and to use the knowledge and apply it and just kind of soaking everything up like a sponge as well, I'd say.
Awesome. And what's one person that's had the biggest impact on your life? Who'd you say?
One person that's had the biggest impact, I definitely say, is David Goggins. Just how he came up and his adversity. It's like if he can do what he did to go through things, then like my life compared to what he had to go through was a breeze, and how successful he made things was just awesome to see. So that's definitely inspiring.
Yeah, man, that guy's hardcore.
Yeah,
I read his first book that makes you want to run through a brick wall. Holy
yeah.
smokes.
Honestly, should have read
Yeah.
that pregame
Yeah.
every football
This
game.
right.
Yeah,
Who's gonna carry the boats?
yeah.
I got him. And then last one, Albert, you kind of heard this one on your questionnaire, but when you think of the words outside the box, what does that mean to you in life?
I think and being able to challenge the status quo, basically, instead of
Mm,
just accepting it, be like, but why are things done this way? Or like, how can it be better? So I think just challenging yourself and challenging just some certain ideals is what I think thinking outside the box means.
I love that. I love that, dude. It's been awesome. It's crazy. Almost an hour goes by every time I
It's
do
been
one
an
of these.
hour.
It's
Yeah.
it's
It's
wild how much time goes by with conversation. But first off, I really do appreciate you taking the time to be with us and to be on the show and just provide the audience with your insight and your background, your story of what you've gone through. I think it's unique and you're doing some crazy things. So I'm proud of you and I'm excited to see where you're going to take things with both DNA and just your life personally. We'll have to connect there in Calgary sometime. I get down there once in a while, so we'll do an arm workout together.
sounds good. I'll give you the secret tips for that. But yeah, no, thank you for taking the time, Isaac, and reaching out to as well. Definitely always nice being able to kind of speak about things and my journey and hopefully just inspire people. I think that's one thing that I've always wanted to do and just working towards as well. So glad you're able to give me your platform to be able to speak on my life experiences too as well. And as you said too, always nice connect. It was nice connecting with you as well. It's been a while, but I've definitely just been a supporter in the background, seeing what you're doing, and it's nice to see that. And you're just starting new ventures and things that you enjoy as well. So yeah, thanks again for having me. I appreciate it, and yeah, we'll definitely connect and get that arm workout going one day.
Absolutely. Well, part of the show too is making sure that we support people like yourself and get the word out about what you're doing. So, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? What's the best way for people to really learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, I think probably the best way right now is just my social media platform, probably mostly my Instagram, just Albert V Junior 9, and then on there I have my website as well to take a closer look at that and how things are starting, and then where they're going to go eventually.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, that being said, Albert, it's been a pleasure, and probably have another one in the future, but thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Isaac. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, be sure to like and subscribe down below. It means the world to me. It's totally free and is by far the best way to support the channel and get the word out. But more than that, please share this episode with somebody that you know would benefit from it and really needs to hear today's message. And reminder, a new episode drops every Monday, so be on the lookout for that. Other than that, have a great rest of your week, crush it, and don't forget to get outside the box. We'll see you on the next one.